The scientific community have acknowledged that the amount of knowledge they have about everything is probably about 1%. So there's about 99% of everything that we could know that we don't yet know. And so some good examples are the universe itself. 96% of it, we don't know what it is. Dark matter, dark energy. The human body, microbiome in the body, the ocean floors, just our own world itself. So much we don't understand about it yet. The nature of consciousness, life itself, things like dreams, spirituality, life after death, all those things we don't really have much of a clue about, to be honest. And so that's one way of keeping ourselves humble. I thought I'd share this one with you today. It's a bit of an interesting puzzle that a lot of human beings have, I think, around knowledge, power, wisdom, understanding, that sort of thing. And it comes down to a couple of things. One of the great proverbs I like is, humility is the beginning of wisdom, and wise is the man that seek after knowledge. And I think those two things are really crucial to going forward in life. But the seeking after knowledge thing, because knowledge really is power, and I think seeking after knowledge is crucial. So how do we do that? And one thing I've really learnt about that is the secret to gaining knowledge, because something I do is I study. I've been doing it for 30 years, and it's just the more you know what you don't know, or the more you become aware of how much you don't know. And so it doesn't matter how much you learn or how much you study, you'll always become more and more aware that there's so much more to learn. And I think 1,000 lifetimes we could never gain all the knowledge that even that human beings have managed to get, which is 1% maybe, if that. And so keeping that humility and using your ears, I think listening is the real key to it. So it's not just when you're studying and when you're learning, because essentially when you read, you're kind of listening in a sense, you're reading, but using your ears to the utmost capacity. So in other words, talking doesn't really teach you much. Listening is how you learn. And so one of the methods I like to share with people about gaining knowledge and gaining power is meditation. And I know there's been a lot of talk around meditation over the years, different techniques and methods and ways of meditating, being in the now, mindfulness, that sort of thing. But the meditation that I really like to share is listening. And so, in other words, you can just sit like I am, just outside somewhere or even in a quiet room somewhere, and just close your eyes and just listen. And what that does is it opens a channel inside you to knowledge. And also, as you gain that knowledge, which you can gain directly, by the way, this is an interesting thing too. I think a bit like we have AI, which can access human knowledge, or the accumulation of human knowledge. There's another form of AI, if you like, which is universal intelligence, or UI. And I think that universal intelligence is behind the scenes in every living thing. The movements of the stars and the planets, life itself, the way DNA operates in every living thing on Earth. That super universal intelligence is accessible through meditative listening. And this is what all the great prophets and revelators throughout time have done. They've gone and meditated. And you think about Moses, who went up on Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. What do you think he was doing up there? It didn't take him that amount of time to carve the commandments in stone. It took him that time in listening and meditation, to make contact and be spoken to and get the knowledge. And I think that is the most important and special part of what we can learn about gaining knowledge. First of all, we have to have the humility and the awareness that there's so much more we need to learn and that we can gain. Also, go into the space of listening, being humble and listening. And when you meditate, you will often hear a single little tone in your head, like some people relate it to tinnitus, like a ringing tone. Some people get a deeper hum, but there is a tone that you can tune into. And if you get into a good space and you're quiet and you listen, you'll hear that sound. And I've always thought, the old days, you probably don't, a lot of the youth probably don't know about it now, but when you used to have dial-up internet, you'd get a tone. And the tone that comes down the line as you're dialing in or receiving information is, you could relate that to the tone that you hear when you meditate. And if you listen long enough and hard enough and you ask questions, and it's the same with prayer, if you ask questions, you'll get answers. If you have things that you don't know or you're not sure about, you'll get answers to it. And also, how will you know if it's true or false, or if it's your own mind, or if it's actually real knowledge and real truth? And this is something else that's really, really helpful I've found is, if something's really true and it's real knowledge, it'll give you a deep, calm, warm sense of inner peace. And sometimes the truth might hurt, but that's only when it really challenges a false belief that we might have. So that truth might hurt at first, but the result of it will be deep, deep inner peace and a warm, glowing sense of comfort that'll come with that truth, even if that truth goes against what you might currently believe. So there you go. That's the way to gain real knowledge, real truth, and real power in this life. And I hope that's been helpful, and I'll share more with you soon. Talk soon.